I'm so glad that my co-writer for Essential Kundalini Yoga agreed to take a little bit of time to discuss the benefits of a very modern Kundalini Yoga practice. We've both been practicing Kundalini Yoga for many, 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 many years. And we have really found the most beautiful pearls from the practice. And we put it into our book. And we also utilize many of them every day of our lives. And I'm so grateful. And I haven't done a podcast yet about Essential Kundalini Yoga. And so today we're going to do that. Welcome to the Karena, Virginia podcast, where we expect the best and we get it. So I am welcoming my dear, dear friend and co-writer, Dharm Khalsa. And Dharm Khalsa owns a bakery in Santa Fe, the Chocolate Maven, which is a beautiful bakery. And I get Christmas cookies from him every year. Thank you. We love our gingerbread men. And also, Dharm has been practicing yoga since he was a teenager. I know this because his mom was a yoga teacher. He's also an incredible musician. And he started Kundalini Yoga in his 20s, met his beautiful wife. They have 2 children. And Dharm is a grandfather now to the cutest little baby boy. And he has such a beautiful, beautiful family, such a beautiful home, and such a cozy home. I remember the first time my daughter went over to your house, Dharm, and she said, I wish our house was cozy like that. Because we had a pretty large house at that time that Dharm's daughters came to stay at too. And you can talk about that too, because I just want this to be a very honest conversation, Dharm, and you and I are very good at that. So we can share this with the listeners. So welcome, Dharm. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Karina. It's nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, I mean, the book, Essential Kundalini Yoga, essential meaning to extract the essence of the practice. And Kundalini Yoga has a lot going on, but what I always call it is the yoga of your energy. Rather than stretching muscles or working out, it's really working with the energy that animates our body. What's the difference between feeling tired, feeling angry, and feeling awake, alive, and bright and focused? It's a state of our energy. So that's something that's always fascinated me. And I don't know about you, Karina, but when I started doing some of these practices from Kundalini Yoga, I could feel a shift in my personal energy. And sometimes we think of our energy as a mood. What's my mood? Well, from a yogic state, we say that's a frequency of our energy, an energetic frequency. So happy, sad, grateful, frightened. There is a lot of fear these days. These are all energy states. And then through the yoga, you get to see who's in charge of those. It's your energy, it's my energy. So that's always fascinated me. And I think we captured a lot of that. Maybe that's the sequel, the next book,
Yeah, I like that idea. I also love that we brought in things that are now considered EMDR and also, you know, polyvagal nerve theory, right? Activations. We were doing this years ago, and these teachings were considered so woo-woo, but now there are therapists that are working through trauma with some of these things that are in our book. And I sometimes I look at our book and I think, wow, I mean, it took us a few years to write. It was a labor of intense love from both of our hearts. And I look at it sometimes and I say, wow, we worked so hard. By the way, I was leading a retreat, and the owner of the retreat center brought out the book to some of the students. And one of the students said, "This is so well written." And I looked at the copyright. "You wrote this before AI." And I said, "Yeah, of course." And she said, "Well, I would have
Yeah,
thought." Right? We didn't have AI. I mean, imagine we did. I remember that time we sat at the festival in that Airbnb that you had rented, and we sat there and we edited, and then by the time we sent the new edits over to Sounds True, they said, "Oh, no, we we actually already put it to print." After, do you
Is that what
remember that?
happened? Gosh, I must have blocked that out.
We
Yeah.
had that whole thing on Michelangelo, and we started to add a little bit more mainstream things. And yeah, and we both went, "Oh my gosh." So um, these these techniques are life changing, but I also want to add that the true, to tap into what you said, the true master guru is within us. And it is so important, especially nowadays. Energy is becoming more and more purified, and we are seeing through the egos. And the patriarchy is crumbling because the divine feminine needs to come in. And Kundalini, the serpent that is activated, is a very divine feminine energy. And the idea of giving our power away to another human being, whether it be a masculine or feminine human being, is very detrimental. And we have the ability to tune in from our pineal gland, from our pituitary gland, to tune into the greatest angelic wisdom and the higher powers, the higher realms. And with essential Kundalini Yoga, we also have the ability to discharge the things that are no longer serving us, to release the things that have hurt us from the past, the old belief systems, the inner child wounds, even the PTSD that many experience. So, do you want to add a little bit to that?
Well, yeah, I think there's a couple of things there, and it's very, very rich. Yoga in India for thousands of years was always taught from a master, from a teacher to the student. And these days, interestingly, my father was a PhD in mathematics, and among PhDs in higher education, there's also a lineage, and you can look up whose student was so and so and who were their students. And it becomes a thing where, oh, you learned from Saunders McLean, you learned category theory directly from Saunders, or you learned it from one of his students. And then who were Saunders's teachers? Now, guru, the word guru is essentially meaning that person or that energy that takes you from darkness to light. And there, there is something very interesting about the Indian way with all the abuses and missteps. There's something that happens in the surrender, the giving up of self. There's something that happens that I don't know. And yes, there's toxicities and there's manipulations and all those things. Um, but that yogic way for thousands of years, what it does do, I'm still trying to figure it out. So don't take this verbatim. But what it does do, I believe, is it really makes you have to surrender what we call ego. Um, and from that state, there comes a humility, which is beautiful, which
Mhm.
really is so sweet. And you meet these Indian, and it tends to be from India. I think that method is of India, um, because that's where all this wisdom arose. I don't know other so much about China or other Eastern where philosophy and yoga may have been taught in a similar way. I'm just not up on that. But in India, it certainly was. And what I can say is from doing that work myself, the giving up of that ego, oh my God, is so difficult because you hang on. You're like, but this is who I am. The interesting thing is who you are is still there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about how some of these gurus, I mean, guru means from darkness to light, from fear to love. It's the transformation. It's the vehicle, like a train takes us from one stop to the next. What about when gurus, in terms of master teachers, abuse their ego and they're teaching certain things that are life changing and they're bringing their students into that place of humility, but they themselves are not going into that humility. They instead are abusing their power. And in turn,
Yeah.
they become spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes physically abusive to their students. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah. So that, I mean, this is something that is such a difficult subject that has to get brought to light. I think right, and it's not just gurus in the sense of yogic or Indian philosophy. You can see this happen with so many people, tends to be men in positions of power. It's not always men, because I know of women who have, once
It's
they're in that
it's not
position,
always men.
yeah, of authority. The vast majority, though, Karina. I mean, um, but there's something about that position of authority, maybe, and when you have followers or students or disciples, I mean, this has happened in the Boy Scouts. It has happened in the Catholic Church, as we know. There's a big settlement going on right now that we talk about, um, and in many different aspects of this situation where you are giving yourself and trusting somebody, and that person in trust, I don't know, they can't handle it.
I was just going to say, would you agree that there is really no emotional abuse like the emotional abuse from someone who uses spirituality in the abuse? Would you agree that there's nothing worse than that kind of abuse?
Yeah, I don't want to say what's worse, what's better, because there's a lot of abuse in the world, physical violence and emotional violence and emotional manipulation and people who will rob you in many different ways. So I don't think it helps to say that one thing is better. Oh, because then we get into that thing. You think, oh, you think that was bad? Well, when I was growing up,
Right, right.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
but certainly using um there's something really immoral about that, about
I
using
think so too.
s-
Because it's a form of what is now called gaslighting, right? It's a form of true gaslighting. It's a form of real it's such a form of manipulation because it is so confusing.
it's confusing because somebody can have a religious experience, and whether that's through a yogic practice or going to a church, going into those beautiful Catholic cathedrals and feeling the presence of the angelic realm and hearing the songs echoing through those chambers, and there's something, you come back from that saying something real happened. I felt it, and it's really genuine. And then if somebody takes that experience and twists it, flips it the other side, and uses it for their own personal benefit, it's really hijacking that vehicle. And instead of that person going on to really have this complete religious experience in their lives, there ends up being a negative, um, because somebody in a position of authority abused that. So it's really a shame. Yeah.
So, and I say the worst because, of emotional abuse, because I think that it's easier to work through and walk away. And I'm not saying it's easy to walk away, because it can take, if someone's in a narcissistic relationship, it can take 7 times, even for someone who's in
Hmm.
major therapy, to
Hmm.
leave that relationship. There's hoovering, there's, all these different things that go on when abuse is used. So, and the person
Yeah.
who is the victim of that is also very confused. But from my experience talking to many people,
Hmm.
um, I think that, and from my own personal experience too, I think that being manipulated by someone who's very narcissistic and who is um, utilizing their power per se, but not in a spiritual way, there, when that happens, we have the ability to go into a spiritual practice, to meditate, to heal with a higher power, and to discuss it in a very mainstream way and get help. When it is someone who puts us, as you said, into that place of being able to eradicate our ego, so that we are in that place of deep humility, and we are so vulnerable and so connected to the divine that we feel the ecstasy of the divine. We feel the absolute omnipresence of the one. And we truly believe that it's
Yeah.
because of that guru that we got there
Yeah.
to to decipher our meditative experience that brought us from fear into love, guru, right? To decipher that from the guru, who is the teacher, who basically claims to be the one that had the ability to put us into that state of transcendence, can be so confusing,
Yeah.
because we think that there's some, we're pretty humble as it is, I think, as human beings, most of us. And we think that, why would the divine move through me? So the divine must be moving through that person who's saying the divine is moving through them, so that I can receive this incredible experience, right? Like, it's a Kundalini activation because someone is activating it in me. No, it's a Kundalini activation because you are doing the work to activate the dormant energy that is in the base of your spine, that the divine is assisting you to activate. The guru is inside of you. The master teacher is the one that is so beyond and is unseen, is felt in the heart. And there is truly, I mean, I believe if someone tells me that they're enlightened and they're walking this planet, I will run. I want to hear the shadow side from the spiritual teacher as well.
Well,
I want to hear. Mhm.
that's really the situation. So yes, absolutely, without question, we are vehicles for divinity, for God, for the angelic, for the highest frequencies. That, and we experience it. I do believe that the vast majority of us have a spiritual connection to something beyond ourselves, whatever you want to label that something. And then it is confusing because there's all these different avenues and it gets hijacked. Absolutely. The thing that happens in the hijacking, because if you're feeling that for yourself and you know these people who say, I'm the enlightened one, I've had this religious experience. Well, hello, religious experience belongs to everybody, you
Yes,
know.
but you've had your experience
Yeah.
of believing the master teacher who told you that it belonged to them, and that you were receiving it because you were a follower. You've had that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an oversimplification, but that's why I'm talking about this idea um, this
I
idea.
saw you looking at the clock. You're like, "Oh, we don't wanna go there."
No, no, it's not that at all. Um, I think
It's an
that
oversimplification, okay.
yeah, yeah. So w- w- um, there's things to be gained and there's things to be lost, but there is also this thing where you know that it's very hard to handle on your own, maybe because of cultural norms of like, no, you're not. You're going to end up, there's a lot of people who think they are the one because they have a religious experience and they think that's something singular to them.
Mhm,
It's not
mhm.
singular to anybody. Everybody has this ability, and I think that's what you're talking about, is that
Yeah,
we're all connected. Um,
and to also, I think, remind people that, I mean, you've had this, I've had this, where people have said, "You're an angel, you're not even from this earth realm, and you help me to do this, and you are all of the, the most X, Y, and Z." And where we say, no, what you see is just a reflection of you. It's all coming from you, and how we want our book to not be a vehicle that connects people to a lineage where there is an abuse of power, but we want our book to be a vehicle that helps people to transform their lives while recognizing that master guru that brings us from darkness to light is within.
yeah, and those techniques, so we can say, sure, there's this spark of the divine in every single one of us. At the same time, gosh, those techniques have helped me um, get in touch with it, feel it, and little by little, maybe that spark begins to permeate more of our lives, more of our awareness, more of our thinking. Yeah. So those are just tools, they're just techniques, but by God, I am grateful for them.
Yes, yes. And if you were to take 5 things from Essential Kundalini, 5 of
Five.
the best things that people can do in one day, to transform their lives, to bring love and light into their lives, 5 things from Essential Kundalini Yoga, what would they be?
Well, I think you have to just, first of all, you got to connect with that spirit and remember. And that can take a moment to remember I'm not this hunk of flesh, this beautiful creation of 30 or something trillion cells all working in harmony to create a body and create eyelashes. There's something that flows through us, and that something is so beautiful and so um, elusive, right? But A is to take a moment and say, oh, yeah, that's who I am. I'm not this body. I'm this spark of energy that got into this body and somehow is keeping it alive,
Mm,
right?
so that's one, yeah.
That's
One
one.
more.
So how do you do that then? How do you do that? Lately, I've been working on deep relaxation, and I really think the magic happens. This technique is in the book. Is simply lying. This is yoga, lying on your back typically, and breathing. Breathing. One of my favorite chapters in the whole book is about breathing. It says get over the idea that you're breathing air and get into the idea that you're breathing light. And if you tune it, anytime you tune into your breath, something shifts. When you start to breathe with awareness, mostly we don't. Mostly we just go about and we expect that is there, that we're going to keep breathing. But as soon as you start breathing with any kind of awareness, something shifts, right? So if you lie on your back, breathe that light into your lungs, feel it flowing through your body. Um, yeah, that's where the magic happens. It really does.
Mm, mhm.
So that's two. You
Okay, 3 more.
need more? Um, I mean, the other thing that's wonderful is to invert, get upside down, and the world looks different. Now that can start to get tricky. How do you invert? And there are yoga poses like shoulder stand, if people are able to do that every day. Your legs go up, your head goes down, the blood flow and all that. The veins open up, all those little valves, but something happens in your consciousness. Um,
Can you add how that helps the vagus nerve too?
oh yeah, so this is a big thing now, all this vagus nerve stimulation
Yeah.
electronically. And got exercises in there because this vagus nerve runs through your neck, runs through your shoulders, and really is the wandering nerve all over the body. And what it does is go back and forth. It sends signals from the brain to the heart, to the breathing, and from your body again back to the brain. And what medical science is finding is that by stimulating that vagus nerve, which tends to get tight, right? Can't
Mhm.
move. And what does tight mean? Yogically, tight means there's not a flow of energy. So when we work on the flow of energy from a number of these things, including breathing exercises and moving our shoulders, um, that vagus nerve starts to relax. Our awareness opens up, our parasympathetic nervous system that helps with relaxation um, opens up. And again, we have a shift in consciousness that allows us to connect with the deeper aspects of our being rather than the shallow.
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, well,
Okay, a few more.
more.
Yeah. Well, more
um,
of the tips that you would take from the book. What about taking a cold shower? Like simple ones, like that are quick, you know?
Anybody can do that. What they found is you want to live longer and live healthier, get in a cold shower. Isn't that silly? But that,
But this hydrotherapy we've been
yeah.
doing way before there were cold plunges. And that's what I'm saying about this art, you know, this science really.
Mhm.
Um, it's this is we wrote the book in 2016 and people weren't talking about cold plunges. People weren't talking about polyvagal theory then.
Yeah.
And there's even more in the book that for many people right now would consider very woo woo. But instead of woo woo, what about it being true, true, right? Because the polyvagal, you know, the whole thing with the polyvagal theory, if it was read in our book by some very mainstream people, they would think it was woo woo. Now it's true, true because it's gone over into the mental health,
Well,
right?
now medical science is catching up with a lot of these
Yes.
ancient things.
Yes.
The neurochemistry aspect, and now people are saying, "Oh, that's a dopamine brush or it's serotonin and all this." Um, and the reality is, there's micro adjustments to your neuropeptides, for example, that shift with our thinking, with our breathing, and with our meditative state. What
Yeah.
what a lot of medical science is saying is that is a shift in neuropeptides.
Yes. Yes, which is amazing. I mean, people are addicted to dopamine and often find unhealthy addictions to
Mhm.
get more of the dopamine. And we
Yeah.
can enhance our dopamine and our serotonin by doing these practices so that we can stay away from substances, of course, but also food, shopping, sex, whatever it is that people are addicted to. Those things are beneficial for, you know, in doses, but when they're abused or when they change someone's life in an unhealthy way, they are problems. And
Dopamine,
meditating, hmm?
dopamine, that up and down. Dopamine is this wonderful explosion, a rush, and then comes the crash because it goes up and feels great, and
Mhm.
then the opposite happens and it goes down.
But
And
in meditating and in practicing essential Kundalini yoga, there is an even to the dopamine and the
Mhm.
serotonin, where we have what we need and we're not looking for something to get that spike. And I think in this day and age, it is so natural to want to get out of
Mhm.
pain and to
Oh, yeah.
want to do whatever we can do. I mean, I listen, I have tremendous compassion for anyone and everyone, really, who is in an addiction cycle because we're all vulnerable to it. But when we have a meditation
Mhm.
practice, or even if it's just 3 minutes a day to tune into the divine and to, hand to heart, hand to belly, calling in our guardian angels, breathing, as you said, which is so beneficial, there is the incredible, incredible healing that happens to the brain chemistry where we can be free from the external besides the divine. We can be free from those habits, those circular patterns where we do it and then we say never again, and then we find ourselves running as far away from it as possible only to do it again. With with Kundalini Yoga, we find a consistent practice, and it doesn't have to be done in a specific way. There's not any right or wrong. It's all about what works for the individual, the person. So you have two more things, please, to add as
Um,
I'm chatting. Yeah, two more things.
um, so there's a beautiful practice in that book, which is kind of like a gratitude practice. It's a projective,
Hmm.
a
Yeah, I
gratitude
know that one.
practice, right? I've
Yeah.
forgotten what it's even, we called it something, but the idea is essentially when we're doing affirmations is to imagine yourself in the situation that you're wanting to bring into your life.
Mhm.
Imagine that situation and then imagine everything about it. Feel it in the body, feel how it smells, feel how you feel the taste in your mouth shift, and then feel the gratitude for that experience, for that feeling that the thing gives you.
I remember what we called it, by the way.
What did he call it? We call it.
We called it the advanced gratitude technique.
That's right, the advanced gratitude technique, and it's just that feeling it, visualize it, feel everything about it, feel how that feels, and then the next step is what's critical, is feeling so grateful for that experience, for that flavor that you get from it.
The wish fulfilled, as Neville Goddard would call that,
Mhm.
the wish fulfilled, and bringing it into our lives by experiencing it in our senses before it's even here.
Yeah,
And it works. So I love that one too. Okay, one more.
one more, I would say, people say meditate. I've got this meditative experience, and everybody's very proud. You talk about the ego. It's like, oh, I meditate every day, and I'm very proud of myself for doing that. And yes, and you're so obnoxious for your for feeling so proud of yourself. But meditation doesn't have to be like that. What I'm talking about is a pause. Pause, however many times. First thing when you wake up in the morning, don't
Mhm.
grab that phone. Take a minute, feel the breath, experience your own being. Just watch your own being, watch
Mhm.
where you are. Now, if you can remember to do this a couple of times in the day, it's a meditative pause, and maybe extend that out even 60 seconds, um, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, sure. 20 minutes, absolutely, as long as you don't start to get all obnoxious about it. Um,
Yeah, nobody needs to know. I think that's what you mean by getting obnoxious about it.
Oh,
Nobody needs
you get proud of yourself, and then it comes through in everything you do.
to. Okay. So I have this thing where when certain numbers show up on my phone, it might be 444. I take that as a a message to pause. And whatever I'm doing,
Mm.
I just take 30 seconds and I breathe and I pause. And sometimes I might even be with people and say, just hold on a second, I'm taking a pause. But that's just me being me. It helps because otherwise we get so caught up in how
Mhm.
fast life is. I've been doing a lot of work in philosophy recently. I've just been opening up a lot of different um, spiritual practices, and I love philosophy. And today I was reading from this book that I have on, it gives a little message every day. And today's message was be aware of time because while
Mhm.
things can be taken away from us, we can often find new ones, right? Even if someone has to move away from property, or even if someone steals a piece of jewelry, we're always like afraid of things being taken away from us. But we can
Yeah.
find a way to get another, but we can never get time back. So, what are we doing with our time? And if we are taking a pause to be in that presence of the divine, we're able to be in the flow of
Mhm.
time, I feel, and get out of that overthinking mind and out of that I should or I'll try and into that full embodiment of the divine presence, which says, this way, darling, letting the light shine on the next step. Do I make a left? Do I make a right? That navigation system is within us. We don't need to look beyond. We just pause and, okay, I see that I am actually going to go straight here. I see where the light is. And that light comes in through the third eye, um, which is that powerful glandular kind of miraculous eye. It's the eye that sees beyond what the
Mhm.
physical
Yes.
eyes see, right? It's the magic eye. Speaking of that, before we finish, I want to be very respectful of your time. I know you have a lot of gingerbread cookies to make. Um, so, but I want to share something that I was wondering if you were going to bring into the 5 things that I
Oh,
asked.
okay.
I'm going to bring one in. Do you know what it is? If you can guess, what's one of my favorite
No
things?
idea. No idea. Come
Really?
on. Yeah.
We created this, and there are people all over the world who do this, and they even call it what we called it. And I don't think they even know where it came from. It's like one of those things that just spread like a wildfire.
Talking about miracle breath. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So, uh, this really is, we call it miracle breath because this breath will change your mindset, will change your nervous system for the better in 1 minute. Dudham, would you please instruct everyone on the miracle breath?
The miracle breath is so fun. And yeah, 1 minute is great, and 2 minutes are great, and 5 minutes are great. To do miracle, anybody can do this, at least that I've met so far. You pucker your lips and draw in a breath through your mouth so that it hits the tip of your tongue inside your mouth, that little cool jet of air. And you want to have a big, deep breath with your shoulders relaxed and bring that breath into your belly. You can pucker your lips so it takes a little draw. You have to really pull like you're you're inhaling through a straw almost. And that little coolness on the tip of your tongue. When you're filled with that breath, put the tip of your tongue at the roof of your mouth. That little cold spot that you just got cold with the breathing, put it up there and sit. Just experience that. And when you feel ready to do so, start to exhale through your nose. Slow, yeah. And then you repeat that. Curl the tongue, put it at the just right there at the dome of the top of your mouth. The next, and you'll feel the shift already, right? A couple of breaths. And that is miracle breath.
So I just practiced it with all of you, and you can continue practicing it. And it does make you feel high. It does. And you know what I love about this breath too? I've taught it to people who vape and
Oh,
smoke, right? And obviously, there's a nicotine addiction for some people that are doing that too. So you get a nicotine patch. No, I mean, this is, I probably shouldn't be saying that, but you are going to utilize a lot of those. I had this theory that people get addicted to smoking also because it's that inhale,
mm-hmm.
right? And obviously, there are other components of addiction, the chemical addiction that happens, and the nicotine or marijuana, or if you see marijuana as an addictive substance or not, it's not about that. But many people, teenagers too, are really wanting to calm their nervous system. So we see what happens with this miracle breath. We are calming our entire nervous system. We're
Right?
recalibrating our body, mind, spirit, physiology, physically, emotions, everything. So I'm glad we decided to do that one today. And Dudham,
Right.
thank you so much for being here with me today and for sharing essential Kundalini yoga with me. We've never talked about it alone. We've been guests on other podcasts, but
Right.
we've also taken quite a big pause from even discussing our book. So I think maybe we'll get this out in time for it being a great holiday gift.
It's a great gift. Absolutely. And you can talk about where they can buy it. I mean, Amazon, but there's probably other booksellers that are not Amazon.
Yeah, well, it's at Barnes and Noble. I think it might be on Target.com. It's in some small bookstores. If you want to support
Most
a local bookstore, that would be great. They can order it for you.
they
The
can order it.
publisher is, mhm.
The
The
the small
publisher is
bookstores, they can
Mhm.
order it for you and they'll have it in a week or so. It's really important to support them.
Yes, I think so too. So yeah, we get the most. And also it's from Sounds True. You can order it directly from Sounds True. But yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a big component of supporting the local bookstores and asking to have them order it for you. Um, so but you do you, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the Karena, Virginia podcast. And to all of you listeners, I really appreciate you for helping me to live my life with purpose. I started this podcast because we moved to Savannah part time, and I really needed a way to stay connected
Mm.
to community and to stay connected to my spiritual practice. So, sharing all of this way helps me to show up and helps me to share the gifts that I believe are life changing. And I am so grateful that the divine brought into my life. And Dudham, you are one of those gifts. You are a very special person in my life, in my entire family's life.
Mm.
And sometimes Gabriella and I talk about you and we laugh and laugh and laugh. And your family is so beautiful. Please give all of them my
Oh,
love,
yeah.
each of them, and your beautiful wife, your beautiful daughters, and your absolutely miraculous grandson. So, to all of you, may we expect the best and get it. And may we remember how truly loved we are And one of the things that I always say that I know Dharm loves, and I've said this to him at times when he shared anything that's, we're friends, so we share things, personal things and life things, and I've said it many times to him because I know how much he appreciates it. I'll say this to all of you. Everything is in divine order.
That's right.
And so it is. Blessings.